The chill of the high desert night hung over Utah's Uinta Basin like a breath held too long. The third season of Beyond Skinwalker Ranch dove deeper into that eerie silence, chasing whispers of one of the strangest incidents ever connected to the region's long history of unexplained phenomena, the mysterious 1965 UFO crash. There were no witnesses that would go on record back then. Only traces, fragments, burned vegetation, melted soil that glowed faintly beneath blacklight. And yet, decades later, the ripples of that event were about to collide with the present. Echoes of an old Secretly episode opened with a slow aerial sweep of the basin, miles of untouched terrain broken only by jagged ridges and brush-covered slopes. The team, scientists, former military specialists, and investigators, were retracing an account that had long been dismissed as rural myth. December 1965, locals had reported a blazing object tearing through the sky, heading northwest, before exploding in a shower of fire. The ground shook for miles. A rancher swore he found an impact zone, a shallow crater laced with scorched rocks, but when he returned with others, the site had been sealed off by men in unmarked vehicles. Nothing was ever officially recorded. No newspapers, no police logs, only a faint rumor of federal interest. That silence was exactly what drew the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch team to investigate. A forgotten impact zone months of combing through old aerial images and geological scans, the team identified an area near the border of the original Skinwalker property, an unmarked basin hidden between sandstone cliffs. From satellite heat data, it showed a peculiar thermal anomaly, a patch of ground that, even at night, emitted a faint warmth. As the team arrived, sensors detected magnetic fluctuations. Instruments failed intermittently. Drones dropped out of the sky as if something invisible disturbed their flight paths. Beneath the layers of desert dust, metal detectors pulsed erratically. When the excavation began, the air itself seemed charged. Shovels struck something solid, metal, not native to the rock bed. What they uncovered first looked like fused aluminum, then something stranger, a half-melted metallic plate that resisted all attempts at cutting or drilling. Under ultraviolet light, it reflected patterns like circuitry burned into its surface. Of the geophysicists noted that the soil composition was abnormal, high traces of iridium, an element rarely found on Earth's crust but common in meteorite impacts. Yet, the distribution pattern didn't match a natural fall. The metal's contour suggested intentional shaping radiation and resonance. The deeper the excavation went, the stronger the readings became. Radiation spikes climbed beyond safe exposure levels, forcing the crew to limit time at the site. When they inserted a borehole camera into the fissure beneath the metal fragment, the live feed showed a perfectly smooth tunnel, descending at an unnatural angle. No animal burrows. No geological fissure should look that symmetrical. The camera picked up faint reflections, tiny orbs of light drifting in the darkness, as though suspended in a liquid field. Then, without warning, the feed went static. That night, seismic monitors placed near the impact crater registered low-frequency tremors, synchronized with bursts of electromagnetic interference. Distant ranchers reported their cattle acting erratically, circling fences and bellowing into the wind. The lead engineer described the readings as resonance, something humming below ground. But the frequency was too consistent, too rhythmic to be geologically recovered. Fragments by week's end, the crew had extracted more debris. Each fragment bore the same heat-distorted latticework. Microscopic analysis revealed a nanostructure far beyond known 1960s metallurgy, interwoven alloys of titanium, bismuth, and unknown trace compounds. Under a scanning electron microscope, the material displayed layered isotopic ratios, as if engineered for directional conductivity. These weren't parts from a terrestrial craft. Nearby, a smaller piece contained tiny perforations, uniform, patterned. When exposed to audio frequencies, the fragment vibrated and emitted faint electromagnetic pulses. It acted almost like a transducer, converting sound into energy. The researchers theorized that the craft may have used resonant propulsion, manipulating sound and electromagnetic fields for lift and maneuverability. It was theoretical technology even today, yet somehow, the wreckage hinted it had existed 60 years earlier. Shadow's historical records from 1965 were sparse, but a retired air traffic controller from Salt Lake City had once mentioned unidentified radar returns during that same winter week. The military reportedly scrambled jets toward the Uinta Basin, though no intercept reports were filed. Old declassified memos obtained by the team referenced a foreign aerial vehicle recovery operation, with coordinates eerily close to the stamped by a division later known as Project Moondust, a Cold War initiative to retrieve fallen objects of unknown origin. The 1965 crash, one of Moondust's first covert missions. The team couldn't confirm, but their findings drew modern parallels. Many of the interference patterns detected matched anomalies seen inside the Skinwalker Ranch's own anomaly zones, specifically those involving gamma spikes and transient orbs of light. The implication was unsettling. Whatever fell in 1965 might not have been a random event. It could have been part of a much larger phenomenon that still persisted. Energy signatures and wormhole theory back at the mobile lab. A physicist on the team compared magnetic data from the crash site with archived readings from Skinwalker Ranch's Triangle Zone. The correlation was uncanny. Identical oscillations repeating every 7.3 seconds. That repeating rhythm was later interpreted as a standing wave pattern, possibly a side effect of an energy field. If these oscillations extended underground, it could mean the craft didn't just crash, it emerged from somewhere else. A wormhole, perhaps, or a transient dimensional rift. That theory gained weight when ground-penetrating radar revealed a spherical void below the crash field. Its density reading was negative, something that, in standard geophysics, should not exist. When the team tried to image it further, the equipment locked up. Screens flickered. Batteries drained instantly later. A glowing haze formed above the crater, an amber mist swirling counterclockwise before vanishing into thin air. Sensors captured a burst of microwave radiation coinciding with the visual. It lasted less than 10 seconds, but the implications were monumental. Patterns in the Skynight surveillance cameras recorded multiple aerial anomalies after that event. Bright, spherical lights darted silently over the ridgeline, performing turns impossible under conventional aerodynamics. Infrared imaging detected no heat signatures, suggesting they weren't physical aircraft. Yet they responded to laser pulses, flashing briefly in apparent acknowledgement before disappearing again. As the footage circulated within the scientific team, one expert speculated that these could be autonomous probes, possibly remnants or monitoring devices left behind by the same intelligence responsible for the 1965 crash. That notion unsettled even the most skeptical members. If true, the basin wasn't just a crash site. It was a living laboratory, continuously observed from above and below. The human element amid all the science, emotion pulsed beneath the investigation. Some of the team had grown up hearing childhood stories about glowing objects and men in silver suits appearing in the desert after dark. For them, this was personal, an attempt to reconcile memory with reality. One geologist confessed that his grandfather, a sheriff's deputy in 1965, had spoken of being turned away by uniformed men near Bottle Hollow Lake. He claimed to have seen trucks carrying covered metallic wreckage, escorted by military police with unfamiliar insignias. When the grandson brought that testimony to the show's producers, they realized the story aligned perfectly with the region's timeline of unexplained shutdowns and radiation spikes. That year was no longer a myth. It was an erased chapter. Wakening in the episode's climax, the team returned to the site to test whether the field emitted controllable energy. Using a mobile Tesla coil, they pulsed electromagnetic currents into the soil and monitored the response. The earth trembled slightly. Instruments recorded a harmonic feedback loop, a counterwave that seemed to originate below them. Then, the crater center emitted a faint hum, rising in pitch until audible. Tiny and blue began shimmering across the surface metal like bioluminescent fireflies. The hum deepened, vibrating through the air in rhythmic bursts. Every instrument flatlined. It ended abruptly, leaving the night silent again. Afterward, equipment analysis showed something impossible. Several memory cards had rewritten their own timestamps to December 16, 1965, the very date of the original crash.